Rule of engagement.
Okay, let's dive into the material you shared today. It's quite a perspective we're looking at here.
Yeah, definitely. We're exploring this idea about athletes, entertainers, their role as, well, representatives or leaders in the Black community.
And the source you provided has some pretty strong takes on this.
It really does. What's fascinating is how it tries to dissect not just that they have influence, but the kind of influence and maybe the problems with it, looking at the history and the, current situation.
Right. So our goal here is to really get a handle on why this source sees celebrity leadership as potentially, well, problematic, and crucially, what it suggests instead for real community progress. So first off, it lays this historical groundwork. It basically says that because of institutionalized racism, these deep-seated barriers, Black Americans historically didn't have many paths to success.
Right. It argues that opportunities were often limited mainly to sports and entertainment.
Which naturally made those figures really visible symbols of, making it.
Yeah,
achievement.
Exactly. And the source draws a sharp contrast there. It points to white communities accumulating generational wealth through controlling institutions, banks, stocks, real estate, that kind of thing.
The economic core, essentially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. While Black people, the source states, were basically left with nothing after slavery. So that massive gap in wealth and institutional power is the backdrop for everything else it discusses.
Okay, so building on that history, the source uses this really striking analogy.
Oh, yeah, the modern-day clowns one.
Right. Comparing today's entertainers and athletes to figures back in medieval times whose job was just to, quote, entertain the king and sometimes the soldiers.
Pretty blunt.
It is blunt. And the argument is that, look, despite all the modern fame and money, that fundamental dynamic, it hasn't really shifted, according to this view.
So the core function is still seen as primarily entertainment, not serious influence within the power structure.
That's the suggestion. It's definitely a challenging idea to chew on. So we've got the history, this analogy, but then the source really digs into a critique of celebrity leadership today. What's the main problem it identifies?
Well, a key point is this kind of paradox. Fame gives them a platform, makes them seem authoritative, right?
Sure, yeah.
But the source argues many are often politically uneducated. And yet the audience, unconsciously, it says, assumes they are knowledgeable because, well, they're rich and famous.
Ah, okay, so there's a disconnect. And it can lead to some celebs thinking racism isn't a thing because they succeeded.
Exactly. That's part of the critique, this idea that maybe some think others just aren't working hard enough. But it goes further.
How so?
Even for those celebrities who do recognize systemic racism, the source claims they often feel they cannot boldly say out loud what they really think.
Why not? What's the constraint?
Fear. Fear that what the source calls the white power structure, the dominant systems, can take away everything they have overnight.
Wow. So that fear really limits their ability to be truly outspoken leaders.
That's the argument. It compromises their potential for, genuine, unvarnished leadership on tough issues.
Which leads to this important distinction the source makes. It's not saying stay out completely. Right?
No, exactly. It draws a line. They can participate, contribute, maybe, but they shouldn't take leadership position. They're seen as fundamentally unsuited for that specific role in the struggle.
Okay, and then it makes this comparison that really stood out to me. It says no other community does this.
Right. It claims no other group, let's say comedians or singers, be the main voices on their most critical issues. It gives examples like Jewish comedians not tackling the Holocaust lightly, or Asian comedians steering clear of certain deep community issues.
Right. What's the difference?
The source claimed it's because they know they will be checked by their people. There's an internal accountability.
Ah, I see. And the lack of that, in the source's view, means the Black community isn't taken serious and struggles to get things done.
Precisely. Because the celebrities, it argues, will always protect their career. Always make sure the white man don't get upset. It definitely makes you think about the pressures involved.
It really does.
Yeah.
So, okay, if not celebrity leaders, then what? The source argues against looking for one single figurehead, right? Mentions past failures.
Absolutely. It's quite firm on that. Instead, the message is clear. What Black people need is organization. Getting organized gets things done.
Organization, not a single leader.
Yeah. The focus shifts completely from individuals who can be pressured or co-opted to the power of a collective, structured, organized community. That's presented as the real engine for change.
So summing up, this source really pushes for a shift away from looking to famous individuals for leadership towards building collective power through organization.
That's the core takeaway. And connecting that to the bigger picture, it leaves you with a really potent question to think about. How do you personally tell the difference between real effective leadership and just perceived influence, especially on these complex, high-stakes social issues?
Definitely something worth pondering as you navigate all the voices out there.